They also made one more announcement that got me super excited. So Canon had a pretty big announcement yesterday announcing 4 new products. They got the new C400 camera that's coming out, 2 lenses, as well as an RF to PL lens adapter. So it was a really cool announcement because honestly I was only expecting to see the camera, which was the C400. Now the C400 is pretty cool looking, and I keep looking over the side. I've got some notes written down over here. The C400 is actually pretty cool looking. It's going to be a 6K sensor. It's going to be full frame instead of the APS-C size that it normally is, or the Super 35. So that in itself is going to be actually pretty cool. The 6K looks really good. It's going to, of course, shoot RAW and all the different codecs and those kind of things. But one thing that I think is really cool is the fact that it's going to have the base IO is going to have 3 different base ISOs. So 800, which is normal for Canon, especially C-Log. But it's also going to have 3200 and then 12,800. Yeah, so that's going to be really cool that you can up the ISO and get a cleaner looking image through those base ISOs. A lot of times you'll see dual base ISO, but having the 3, that's actually a really cool addition. Now, in my opinion, this is kind of the big brother to maybe the C200. I've actually got a C200 here. And the reason I say that, maybe C300 as well. But some people are saying, it's an upgrade from the C70, the big brother to that, which, on the one hand, I definitely can see that point. The only reason I say C200 is just because the new C400 is going to have this boxy modular design with a handheld grip over here, and it's going to look, the body is going to look a lot like the C200. So I do like the fact that it's going to be very modular, a lot more modular than, say, the C70. That's really cool. I like the fact that it's going to be shooting 6K, and I also like the fact that it's a full frame sensor, which, is not something that, people make a bigger deal out of full frame than, in my opinion, they should, but it's still something cool to have and something that's going to be really neat to have incorporated into a cinema camera. That being said, I don't think this thing is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but is really good, especially coming in at a starting price of only $8,000. That does make it that next step up from, say, the C70. So a couple of things I don't particularly care about with the C400. Number one, even though it's built just like the C200, it's going to have all the integrated plugs on the back here. The C200 has full-size XLRs. The C400 is going to have the mini XLR, just like the C70 had. And in my opinion, I just don't like that. I know it's not a big deal. You can buy adapters, but that's just an extra piece of gear, something you could lose, something you could forget, something else that could fail. I prefer, if you're going to record internally, to have full-size XLR. Now, truth be told, almost 100% of the time I record externally. Right now I'm recording into a shotgun mic that's going into a Zoom F3 recorder, so the mini XLR input, it would not be that big of a deal for me because I probably would not be running sound into the camera anyway. But I just think if I wanted to, I'd rather have the option of having the full size XLR. The second reason I kind of say it's a big brother to the C200 is just, got the input on the side, or the CFast to the side, and the SD ports, but they're both going to be right here. And one of the problems I have with the C400 is that it's going to have one CFast and one SD slot, and that's it. There's not going to be, like on the C200, I got 2 SD slots right here that I can use for redundant recording or whatever. On the C400, your main recording is going to be the CFast, and then you can have a backup proxy on the SD card. So I wish that they would have given 2 SD card slots. Obviously they can. They've got the very similar body here in the C200, so I do wish that they had that. But Other than that, I mean, it's a pretty solid looking camera. It's going to shoot, 10-bit 422 and XF AVC, but also you can shoot up to 12-bit on the RAW. It's going to have an updated dual pixel autofocus, so it's going to be even more reliable than most Canon cameras are, which is fantastic. You know, they're already really good, so to upgrade that and make it even better, that's phenomenal. I love the fact that they have gone back to the modular design. I do like the C70. I do like the solid piece body that is very nice. But I also like the modular design here. Pros and cons to the modular design. Pros, you can strip it down to just this square and fly it if you want to. Con, if you want to build it out, it's gonna take a little while. If time is of the essence, then the C70 and that solid camera body is actually gonna be a pro over the modular design. But you can't do nearly as cool of stuff as you can with the C200 or the C300, or now, you know, the C400 with that box design. Now, the build out taking a while can be a pro. It is, in my opinion. Unless you're just pressed for time. I love building out my camera rig. I love, you know, attaching the monitors and attaching this and attaching that, you know, just building it out. So that's a lot of fun. And so being able to do that, of course, you know, it's just like growing up Lego, you know, it's just fun to do. Another thing they announced was that they have updated the battery, the old BP battery that's been in Canon cinema cameras forever. They've actually given it an upgrade. And with this, you can also, like with the C400, they have power to the hot shoe on top of the camera, and also the ports coming out the front of the camera. So if you have like a cinema lens or something like that you want to have talking with the camera, different things like that, they've got these new ports that they've added. And this new updated battery will actually power those different ports. Now, the good news is they said the old BP batteries will still fit and they'll still work with the C400. You just won't be able to power the additional ports that you would with the brand new battery that they're coming out with. Now, they did say it'd be shipping with this battery, and you would get, I think they said, like 120 hours. 120 hours, that would be an insane battery. 120 or 180 minutes of record time, so you're still going to get plenty of record time on this one brand new battery. But the good thing is it will be backwards compatible with the old BP batteries, which is a very nice touch. All in all, I'd say this camera sounds pretty stinking impressive. You know, who's it for? Okay, this is not going to be your top of the line cinema camera. The footage that they showed was fantastic, but the raw footage coming out of the C100 is fantastic. The raw footage coming out of the C70 is fantastic. So, you know, it's fantastic footage, but you're already getting fantastic footage out of Canon cameras. So, to me, this is not like an upgrade to the higher end stuff, the C500 or the C700 even. This is going to be more of again, if you want to step up from the C200, if you want to step up from the C70 to go into a full frame cinema lens, then this would be a good choice for you. You know, some of the specs maybe don't look the best, but then again, the thing about Canon cameras is the specs don't always tell the story. A lot of times the specs come out and you're like, but then you use the camera and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a fantastic camera, and I have no doubt that the C400 is going to be a fantastic camera, and actually coming out at $8,000, I think is a pretty dang good price for the kind of camera that you're actually going to get. Now, this was not the only announcement Canon actually made. They announced a new adapter, an RF to PL adapter, so if you use PL lenses, you can now natively adapt it straight to your Canon RF mounted camera, which is a really cool touch. They also announced a new cinema lens, a Cine lens, the 17 to 120. That's a cool looking lens, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I don't see where I would have to use it, or most people in everyday Canon cameras won't have to use this lens, but if you shoot with Canon Cinema glass, this 17 to 120 is actually a pretty cool looking lens. Now, they also made one more announcement that got me super excited. They announced a 35mm 1.4 f-stop aperture lens. Now that lens in and of itself sounds fantastic, but it's the words that they said right after it that have me extremely, extremely excited. They said this is going to be the first lens of this kind that we're developing, which means they're going to be coming out with a lot more. My guess would be prime lenses at that 1.4 aperture. Now, you know, they've just recently opened up their mount to Sigma, to Tamron, to third-party lenses, and those guys have some nasty, nasty little lenses like the 16mm 1.4. You know my view on that. I love that little lens, but I bet Canon is about to come out with all sorts of lenses just like that in the 1.4 f-stop range. So that has me even more excited than the C400. I'm a camera nerd. I love watching these things. I don't really need a C400, but those, if they're coming out with 1.4 f-stop prime lenses, oh buddy, I am excited about that. So hey, let me know down in the comments what excited you the most of these announcements, if you're excited at all, or if you thought this was just a total announcement by Canon. Guys, I'll catch you later.